18 years ago, I dared to take the leap of faith as to start the first ship hospitals in Bangladesh to serve the most vulnerable and climate-impacted communities, some of the worst in the planet. From a glass cage of a 600-year-old privileged traditional family, my journey of breaking the chains of my written destiny was filled with unexpected challenges. I met with skepticism and smug smiles from everyone. A woman had stepped into the development arena where 90% of the leaders were experienced men. They wanted reports, manuals, acronyms, baselines. And I was not an academician. I was not a professional management expert or a development expert. My visions and action of what I wanted to do stemmed only from compassion and love and determination, and that was met with such condescension everywhere I went. They treated it as an indulgence. I would soon recover from this indulgence when true challenges would set in. And even though I had brought a solution for these climate-impacted mobile migratory communities, no one believed me. When I went to a development organization, it was one word over and over again: impossible. You want to take a ship and you want to go into areas, there are 40,000 NGOs in Bangladesh, nobody has done it, and you think you can do it? And even if you manage to take the ship, you're only a drop in the ocean. And it was true, because I had never stepped inside a hospital ever. I had never stepped on a ship in my life, and I didn't even know what an NGO, ONG, stood for. I didn't know the acronym. Then I went to the government offices, to get my registration done. They all respected me. They knew who I was. They knew my background, so it was all smiles. They showed me respect, but never any help. What I saw on their faces was total condescension. A woman from that background, it's just a whim. As soon as real difficulties set in, she's going to step back. She's not going to do anything. And they pretended to help. And my background, my determination, my courage to do what nobody else has done, because I could reach out to them and tell them this, it became a bane for me. That became my difficulty, because they wouldn't believe me. And I understand, because perhaps I challenged their concept of how work should be. That, plus the fact that I was a woman. Today, Friendship is the largest woman-founded and led organization in the country. There are big corporates which are led by women, but they're all family organizations. Either the father or the family or the husband, they had made it. There are INGOs, which are also very large, but they're international organizations, not made locally. And I had to start from scratch, and nobody believed that I could do it. And even as Friendship grew bigger, stronger, nationally, and a bit internationally, no one wanted to believe that a woman could do this single-handedly. It was incredible. All they said was, there must be a man in the background somewhere. It must be her French husband. It must be her father. And even today, after 20 years, I still hear that. It's incredible. Bangladesh is a country of 1,000 rivers. It's 1/4 the size of France, with 180 million people. And 50% of the land is constantly under the water throughout the year. It's one of the poorest in the world. But it was not the poorest. It is said that the British took more wealth out of Bengal than the whole of India put together. And those are the people that I went and I saw in this migratory communities, sometimes shifting and migrating 48 times within the last 20 years. And every time they went, every time they migrated, they would lose everything. That is where I had to work. And these areas were areas where even the government would not have ferries crossing after 6 p.m. because there were a lot of robbers and dacoits, and there was no way that the police could come if there was any mishaps. And the doctors who came to our ship, the doctors refused to come without a gun. And I had to actually beg and say that, if you come with a gun, they are going to shoot you. They will attack you with a gun, and we cannot take that. So if they want something, they will take it. And it has been 20 years, we've not had one life buoy ever stolen from that area, from our ship. I always did what my heart drove me to do, and what I felt was right. Justice to me was very important, as verity. Verity for anything that you do, it needs to be true, real. And even as a child, I was a small child in Calcutta. I was studying there. And once there was I looked out of the gate, and we were not allowed to go out of the gate. We were really in a glass bubble. And there was this heap on the floor outside the gate. So I opened the gate, which by itself was a challenge because we were not allowed to do that. Walked out, and I saw this thing moving, and there was a man, old and totally emancipated. I picked him up. I told the guard of the house to go and get some food and water, and I held him in my arms till he started recovering a bit. And then I gave him a little bit of money. I asked him what was wrong, and he had just not eaten. And I put him on a rickshaw, and they went home. I came back. What I did was not the important thing. What happened to me was I felt so much pain. And I didn't understand, because I thought, am I going to go through life feeling this kind of pain all the time? How am I going to function? How am I going to act if every single thing makes me feel like this? I told this to my father, and he said, Runa, a piece of coal once asked God, a diamond and I, we are made of the same thing, carbon. And yet a diamond is so revered, and I'm not. So God turned to him and said that, well, you go through the million years of pain, suffering, and growth, and you'll become a diamond. And this really affected me very deeply, and I said there was nothing wrong in feeling pain and taking actions on those pains. Doing that, I realized, I was about 18, and I realized that giving had a different kind of a meaning, because in Bangladesh, there are a lot of beggars, as in India, many of you have seen. And who do you give to? You give to people that you like. This man's smile is nice, you give. This child pleases you, you give. That woman begs nicely, you give. And I thought, this is not what giving is about. And I spent 6 months giving to people I did not like. There are people who are creepy, so, I would give to them. There are people who you felt was like aggressive. I would give to them. People I wouldn't like. Many years later, and that taught me so much. Many years later, I married. It was an arranged marriage. And I had of course, it was a very conservative family. I listened to everything my husband told me to do. More I listened, the more he told me to do. And more things he would impose on me. So once I told him, he was a very nice man, don't get me wrong, he was a very nice man, conservative. And he said, I told him, never mistake my gentleness for weakness. The gentler I am, the greater becomes my strength. And I think one of you in this room feel the same. And once, I have to tell you, Jean-Edouard, I don't know anything about negotiation. I had 40 people holding guns at my head, because there was somebody in a shop that I had who had misbehaved, and this man was a killer, his brother was a killer, and they came and 40 guns, and 10, 20 of them had guns, and they wanted the guy. And there was no way I would give him because he would be killed. So I got out of it, and I realized that I thought that I needed to do something more because I had the strength and courage of carrying through what I felt was right. And my life soon changed. I met people, I met new people. I met my husband, I got divorced, then I remarried. He was a Frenchman, emancipated. I could go out in Bangladesh, travel around for the first time in my life, and then I saw. A mother comes to me with cerebral palsy, with child with cerebral palsy, and asks me, what should I do with this child? Should I kill it? The doctor said there's nothing to do. Children were dying with just of diarrhea. Salt and sugar could have perhaps saved that child. 2 days, people, families, communities had not eaten. Or people were just standing and being swept away, their homes and hopes, as landslides came in and the floods wiped away everything. And I realized I needed to do something. And realization must lead to a responsibility. So I started Friendship. And I'll show you a little video on what Friendship does. It's 5 minutes. I love the kids. They see the stars. So you fling your heart and vision to the stars, and at least you can touch the moon. And for me, every time, they have the best results in the country. All the merit-based scholarships have been taken by our children in all the districts that Friendship works in. Government scholarships. And quoting a young volunteer, he says, go to an island where Friendship works and where it doesn't, and you see the difference. And what made this succeed, made me succeed in spite of the very apparent limited resources that I had, I grew the courage to break the chains of conformity and norm, and I questioned. In 2007, a student asked me, a university student, that, ma'am, how do you see your organization in 20 years? I said, not 20, 50, 100, 200 years. I see one factor which must remain, which is the value on which I built Friendship. Everything will change, management, goals, designs, as people's needs change, but it must remain and work with the values of integrity, dignity, justice, quality, hope, on which I built Friendship. And as an organization which holds humanity as its essence, that it will never forget to make decisions which are humane, be it for management, be it for the beneficiaries. We need to ensure that our deliveries, when we give, do not take away more than what we give to them. We need to give with respect, ensure their dignity in that giving. We need to work with deep humility for true changes to happen, because the complexities of the areas that we work in, the climate impact communities, poverty is so multidimensional that there is no panacea, no one solution. Ability to embrace failures, and that's not enough. To have the courage to restart with the same conviction with which you started the first time. We need to choose our battles, because we just can't fight everything that we feel for. We cannot lose faith in the goodness and power of humanity. We must never underestimate the respect of love, the strength of love, respect, devotion, and faith. Because if you can work with humility and courage, ability somehow happens. So many people ask me, I don't have the ability. It happens. It's inside you. And you will find that in your journey, you take others with you, because you cannot do it alone. I have not done this alone. My staff of nearly 3,000 people in Bangladesh, hundreds of volunteers internationally, members of the international community that we have as members of Friendship, we are all held together because we need each other to fulfill the common dream. And in the same way, I would need your help, your strength to survive, because the battle that I've chosen to help the millions cannot be done alone. And whatever little drops you put in, that little child who can be saved may make the difference in the world tomorrow. It is our daily strive towards verity and a dream for a better world that we need to hold on to, and our non-negotiable values. Because this keeps us aligned together, and this enables us to take the small steps daily as one, in love, in courage, and in friendship. Thank you. Thank you.